Welcome to the Microscopists, a bite-sized bio podcast, hosted by Peter O'Toole, sponsored by Zeiss Microscopy. Today on the Microscopists,
I'm joined by Leonel Malacrida, and he talks about his inspiring scientific journey, reflecting on the childhood dream that first led him towards veterinary science before discovering microscopy, and sharing how staying active and social through cycling helps him maintain balance alongside a demanding research career. All in this episode of The Microscopists. Hi, I'm Peter O'Toole from the University of York, and welcome to this edition of The Microscopists. And today I'm joined by Leonel Malacrida from Montevideo in Uruguay. How are you?
Hi Peter, how are you doing? I'm very fine. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. You've been on this list from the start. You probably don't know that. Right from the very starting list, I've still got a few names. I didn't use everyone, and you were on that very first list. Probably, I know you watch the podcast.
Yes, I know.
But also, you are one of the big leads for Latin American bioimaging, so LABI, and that's been really influential for the field. And I guess because you're in Latin America, you probably don't realise that actually so much of it's in Europe, and I know across Northern America and down across Africa and into Australia, all know about LABI, Latin America bioimaging, and you are a big part of that. So I've got to ask, how does that make you feel?
Well, thank you very much for all your compliments, Peter. Yes, I want to start saying that, yes, I am a big admirer of, the series. I listen, every episode. I always like to learn, about the people behind, the scientists. And certainly, you have a particular, capability of getting, this sense of humanity of everyone behind the scientific career. We start with LABI very, very humbling to try to put together, friends and colleagues that we have admiration and people who wanted to engage in endeavors that requires, the vision that you cannot achieve alone. And we were lucky to have at least, I will say, 5, 6, 7 colleagues who say immediately, yes, I want to be in. And I was one of them. And so far, it's been like 3, 4, 5 years working together and expanding, capabilities and possibilities for Latin American scientists, but also for Latin American science by all, right? And we are doing very well. We are working with many working groups and many new generations now showing in different working groups in the LABI meetings, and we are excited. We are very excited about it.
There's a lot of naivety out of there. When you live in Europe, you know what European science is and how well geared up it is. I've been fortunate to work with multiple people from Latin America. But I think LABI's really put the quality of science that's coming out of Latin America on the map for many people, certainly in the bioimaging community, that may have been otherwise just blind to what's happening down there. And that must, as you say, it's more of that, because it shows you've got the core facility, you've got the infrastructure, you've got the technology, you've got so much technology development going on. But all the science that's supporting, I think it's really helped. But what's the word? Really instill that to a wider audience and may have otherwise been aware of that. So I think it's a huge congratulations. And to put it across all of, not just one country, we've got Bioimaging UK, we've got Europe Bioimaging, but it's everyone was well networked to start with. To go straight out to, it's a big continent, South America.
Yeah, it's huge continent.
Yeah,
it's huge continent, and with very different culture and and socioeconomical perspectives that give you a challenge, of course. But when you want to do some things and you find the right people to do it, there is no things that you cannot not do, right? And I really thank you for your compliment, because yes, it has been a very hard work. I will not say that we didn't put a lot of energy and effort and dedication from each of us from our everyday job, right? We are all scientists, so basically we have to put away things in order to dedicate time to this. But now everything is paying off. You start to see, the community growing. You start to see how we can organize things not only at an institutional level, national level, but also regional level. And this is something that will, I hope, make big impacts right in the future, not just for now and what we are doing now, for the future generations. And the big hope for me, at least, is that within the working groups, you can see already, very passionate imaging scientists with many different backgrounds. If I have to call myself, I am a scientist. I have a professor position in an academia, and well, if I have to leave this, I don't know, probably I will do something else. But there are many imaging scientists which are technician or technical staff here and there, which are involved, and now they have a voice and they have an opinion and they have, the possibility to shape their future. And this is something else, It's not just the originally hope that we planned at the beginning.
So I've had this question myself, but I'm going to throw it on you. Why you? Why? You're an academic. You've got your own research. That has to be your priority. Your teaching, your research.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're
Correct.
paid to do. This is not what you're paid to do. Is to set up a network.
Mm-hmm.
Why you? Okay, it's a good thing to do, but let someone else do it. Why you? Why are you motivated to do it? What motivates you?
To be humble and honest with you, I have the chance to leave the country for my postdoc in US. When I come back to Uruguay, it wasn't an easy solution. An easy decision. I have to fight to come back, and I have to decide myself and my family whether we would like to pursue my career back in Latin America or stay in US, for instance, or other place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally decided to come here, big part of this decision was, to dream in something much better of the opportunities that I have and the capabilities that I have at the time that I have to leave to train myself in techniques or in other things that I was not able to be trained in my country. And, it's some sort of like romantic perspective. You come back, you can come back with certain knowledge, you come back with certain know-how, and connections in the north, and the revenue is huge because you feel yourself very, very, very happy and and humble of helping others to have small steps in their path to the career. And I never doubt a second to dedicate time on this. I say, well, yes, when I met Chris Good, Andres Camay, and other folks here and there, we say, oh yes, let's start. I will be in. I will put whatever I can, whatever I have. It's not much, but yes, I have energy and I have thoughts and ideas that I can share. And it was one thing was moving another, and we are here.
Which is amazing, and I think a big thank you from the community to all of you who have driven LABI and developed it. How many members are there in LABI?
On papers, I think we are around 700 registered people across Latin America, and world is a lot. Yes, it's a lot. Yeah. On centers, I think we are on the 70, 75, if I'm not wrong now, across Latin America. And within the executive committee and working groups and, people who are close to LABI, probably we are about 100 now working about LABI.
And
that's a lot.
how much volunteer time that is across 100 people doing different
That's a
things.
lot. That's a lot.
It is a huge amount.
It's true.
And
It's a lot.
yeah, you think in Latin America, 700 people is not a lot. I think to put this in context, I don't know what BINA is, Bioimaging North America. I bet it's not so dissimilar. The Royal Microscopical Society only has around 1,500 members.
Wow.
It delivers to 10 times that, because actually
Yeah.
we do non-members, because it's that outreach, people who subscribe up to it. But I think it's
Mhm.
amazing in such a short amount of time you've done so well. So I just hats off. And I know I mentioned about how well resourced some areas are, but I also realize across Latin America that there are pockets, small pockets of well-resourced
Mhm.
labs.
Yes. Yes.
There's a lot of
That's
science dependent on those centers that don't exist in other research environments.
that's something that I believe was a big part of the decision to move on, because most of the time for Latin Americans, and I believe in other under-resources areas, you always look at North as the solution for everything, right? And yes, it can be, there are know-how, there are resources, there are, opportunities in North which are unique. But it's also true that in Latin America, there are already existing infrastructure in different areas, bioimaging, structural biology, cell biology, genomics, etc., where we do have very well-trained staff, cutting-edge technology, that if we complement and we work closer together, we can do cool things and really approach problems that are our problems, right? That are not, from other areas. And I truly convinced of what you say, Peter, is the case. Latin America per se has already a value on know-how, on technology, and in problems, biological and life science problems, who are rich enough to consider ourselves as a place where, well, science has a point, right?
And it goes beyond that because it's also good value. So you actually, what you're doing is taking investments that the countries have done, and again, it's small pockets of excellence, but you're multiplying the impact of that by the opening up and the support and the training and so forth. And we will get to more other stuff in a minute, but you did send me a picture, which was a workshop picture.
Yes. This is the
2024.
last workshop. I am down the stairs. Yes, this is in the Institut Pasteur Montevideo, one of my affiliation. This was 2024 workshop with around 25 students from all over Latin America. This is part of one of my grants with Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, the first one of the grants, which is the Imaging Scientist program that I'm showing in 2020. And you can see here, many students and also some professors and friends from all over the world, like, Dave Jason, Enrico Graton, and Rodrigo Migueles, Andre Gomez, many friends who came along to help me to teach, spectroscopy on images, as I like to call this workshop.
And you mentioned Chan Zuckerberg, and this won't be the first podcast people have heard about Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, CZI. Did Leiby start up because there was a funding opportunity, or was it you were starting up and then the funding opportunity came up? Because without question, they would have been exceptionally enabling for Leiby.
Yeah, we started before that. Chan Zuckerberg came up with the first grant shaped for organizations and community building. Labi started technically in a Zoom call in 2020 with a strong help and support from Global Bioimaging. Indeed, Federica was helping us to put together some of the friends and some of the colleagues in Latin America, and they really pushed us to shape Labi. And then we kick off Labi as an organization in 2021 in the first Labi meeting here in Montevideo, in my hospital, my other affiliation, Hospital de Clínicas, Universidad de la República. But early on, we were engaged with CCI, Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, because, we were part of Global Bioimaging. Myself, Lia Pietrasanta, Chris Good, and Andres Camay, we were sitting on the manager board of Global Bioimaging. So we were aware of CCI. CCI was already funding Global Bioimaging. In 2020, CCI opened the second round of the Imaging Scientists program, where I joined in as a Latin American. And with conversation and with many back and forth, finally CCI shaped a specific call for Latin America, Africa, and East Europe for community building and community capacity building and community organization. And this was the time where CCI joined LABI as a funder.
I think that's really cool. I just think it's really good to give, again, CCI good credit, really, for
big credit. Yes.
Many environments. I'm going to change tack. So I'm going to take you back, not to 2019 when that started, 2024 when you ran that course. I'm going to take you back another 30 plus years. I'm being nice here.
Okay.
When you were 8, 9, 10 years of age, what was the first job that you wanted to do? What was your first career that you wanted to do?
Well, I was born in a small town, which is called Santa Lucia. Santa Lucia is a small town in the department of Canelones, north to Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay. Basically, as a childhood in a small town, you have a lot of connection with nature. And, my father was a farmer. So basically for me, being a veterinarian was like natural. I wanted to be, something related to the field and working with animals and things like that. So if I have to say, probably the first thing that I have in mind was to work with the nature. But I was always very curious, and I like, things, work with hands and, work with the body. So yeah, probably veterinary. I also like music. I also thought to be, a musician. In Uruguay, you cannot be other thing than a soccer player when you're a child, because soccer is everything here. So every child wants to be.
Why not be a footballer?
Because I wasn't good.
You were the winners of the first World Cup, weren't you?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I mean, I am an average Uruguayan soccer player. I am not really. I don't have too much abilities. I am more on the tackle down. So basically, yeah, I wouldn't have much fortune on the soccer.
So what music do you play? Do you play musical instruments?
I only make noise, but I used to have a band when I was more teenager. I used to play bass, and I have some guitars in home. Sometimes, once in a while, I try to play something. My wife always say that I make noise, but anyway, I like music a lot. I am really, I always have something sounding around me. Yes.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah. Actually, not at work. Sometimes at work, but at home, always there's music on. Always.
Yes.
What is your genre? What sort of music do you like?
Well, it's very diverse, but if I have to give you the band that really struck me, and for many years I couldn't even escape of this, is Beatles. I am really a fan of Beatles. So I have a season that I cannot listen anything else. Everything is there. So you go from a playlist of the Beatles and everything is there. So I don't need to even think about anything else. But I like pop, rock, things like that.
Okay. And just going back, so you wanted to be a vet, be useful with your hands. Yeah, when did you start to get a more interest? Well, I suppose that gives you an interest in the sciences to start with, but when did you give up wanting to be a vet and started to read maybe a more of academic career was the right way? What was your degree in to start with?
My degree was in biochemistry. I did the School of Science here in Uruguay, and I know very well when I turned to the scientific field, because it was in my high school. where I was studying, the Mendel law. And I have a professor, he's my friend, Gustavo Naya, and he really teach, the Mendel law in a way that really attracted me. I say, oh my God, I want to learn more about this. How you can understand, just by playing, with plants, things like that are very, very complicated. And I start to dig more and more. And I have friends here and there that were already, in the School of Science, and this put like the light for me. Okay, maybe I can go into the science. And at the end of the high school, it was clear for me that I will proceed and pursue a career in science, because I like a lot, physics. I like a lot, chemistry, and I decided for biochemistry because it was a little bit of everything,
Yeah. And it is the best degree anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. No offense to anyone
absolutely.
else, but if you didn't do biochemistry, you wouldn't understand.
If I have to look back, I have to confess that now, after many years, I would like to come back and do physics, to be fair. I like the way how physics think, the physicists think, and I would like to have more background in physics for what I do today, right? And I have to read much more by myself in order to, have the fundamentals of building and doing things in the optics and in the microscopy side.
Which is interesting, because I can understand the physics side, but you've also had a lot of heavy involvement in the chemistry as well for it.
Correct. Absolutely. Well, nowadays is I think is as important as much as you want to know about physics, right? The photophysics of fluorophores are the key in many cases of the success of the techniques, right? Absolutely.
It's a bright subject, isn't it? Anything fluorescence is a bright subject.
Absolutely.
So you did your undergraduate as a biochemist. Where did you do your PhD?
I did my PhD also here in Uruguay. I already moved to the hospital, so Hospital de Clínicas, and I was, from the degree to the PhD, I was moving from biochemistry to biophysics, because my topic of research was the effect of volatile anesthesia in the lung, in the pulmonary surfactant. And the pulmonary surfactant is a mixture of lipids and proteins. And basically, this anesthesia has the possibility to affect the biophysical properties of this pulmonary surfactant. So I learned some tools about spectroscopy. I learned fluorescence, and I start to apply, polarization, spectra, time resolved fluorescence, and things like that in order to understand the questions. And little by little, I start to move away from the biochemistry and getting into the biophysics. So my PhD, after all, was a PhD in biophysics, while in Uruguay, the name of the PhD is biology. I have a PhD in biology, technically.
Yeah.
But yes, and it was really the first connection that I have with microscopy was at that time, because I was studying all these tools in cuvettes, and in cuvette you have bulk measurements, and you understand, I don't know, phase transitions in the membrane, or interaction of a protein and membrane and things like that. But after all, at the 2000s, you may be aware that all this fabulous area of working with giant unilateral vesicles, and these UVs are amazing tool to look in your eyes, the domains and what is the impact of in that case, an anesthesia molecule in the GUVs. And I learned, these tools from big people who helped me, very strong to start with this in Uruguay. And in particular, I want to mention two. One was Luis Bagatoli, which was, a rock star at that time. Luis was in Denmark doing all this fantastic work with GUVs, and he came to Uruguay to help me on this and start all this technique. And then I learned Enrico Graton, and I met with Enrico, and Enrico opened the door of his lab to go there to finish my PhD, and then he offered me a postdoc where I moved for some time there.
So I'm just gonna. You sent an image.
Yes,
You not
this
put
is
an image.
yeah, this is a great picture I have with Enrico before I left the lab, and this this poster is outside his office in UCI and stand for the Laboratory for Fluorescence Dynamics. It was a national center for more than 35 years. I think is one of the longest centers in US, which was aimed for the development and the application of fluorescence in biology, starting from cuvettes in the early 80s to all the amazing microscopy stuff that Enrico developed over the past 30, 40 years. Yeah, Enrico is really the greatest mentor that I can have, and an amazing human being also.
So I always ask, who's been your inspirations, and I presume Enrico would be one of your.
Yeah, for sure, Enrico. It was a person who, when I finished the PhD, I moved to Enrico because he offered me a position for a postdoc there, and I moved there 2015 to 2019. And one of the first things that he told me when we discussed about moving there, he told me something that I have with me now, and I try to transmit to my students and everyone here in Uruguay. He was trying to convince me to move to his place, and he said, Leonel, I mean, in my lab, if you can think on something, it must be possible to do it, no matter what. You have to build a microscope, we will build it. We have to write a software, we will do it. We have to write a method, we will do it. And at the beginning, I thought, well, this is very, presumption, it's something that, well, is very aspirational. But after 4 years, I convinced that this is possible. And this was something that gave me also another movement in my career. I started as biochemistry, I moved more into biophysics. And with Enrico, I start to also develop some skills in the building side, in the method work. And now it's part of our space here in Uruguay. But also, if I have to mention some other, Enrico, Dave Jason is also a great friend and colleague who helped me for many years inspirationally. And one person that I also admire a lot, I never have the chance to meet with him, but through his mentees, Enrico and Dave, I admire a lot, is Gregorio Weber. Gregorio Weber is an Argentinian biophysicist, father of all biological fluorescent application. He started to move on the 50s all that was use of fluorescent in the physics side to the biology. And he described, anisotropy, lifetime measurement, spectra, excitation emission matrix, probe development, etc. And he's also another Latin American, so I'm even prouder of him.
That's really cool. It's nice to be able to actually talk about Enrico as well and get that credit up. So you did your postdoc. How was the change going from Uruguay to the US? How did you find that transition?
It was hard at the beginning because, Uruguay is a small country. We have a 3 million population, and I am also living and growing up all my life in a small town, which is even smaller. The population in my town is 15,000, so it's very small. It's a village, right? And moving to US, it was, oh my God, this is a lot. But I was lucky enough that Enrico was in UCI, so Irvine is a small town too, south to LA. And the life in Irvine was somehow similar of my life here. I was biking every day to UCI for my work. My kids have the chance to go to school, which were fantastic. We have parks. It was very much connected with the nature, and I was really enjoying a lot what I was doing as a postdoc. So somebody told me when I was moving to the postdoc to, be aware that this is probably one of the best time of your life, And I truly convinced that it was because it was a moment in life where you are mature enough, your family is already, something, and you are sharing all this joy together. So it was hard, but after all, it was amazing. It was a really wonderful time that we spent these 4 years in US.
How tempting was it to actually stay over there? I've heard why you wanted to come back to Uruguay, the benefits of that, but let's look at the other side. How tempting was it?
Yeah, I thought about, and truly speaking, when I was going back, when I left the country, I left the country with a position that was safe for me in my way back. And this was already an anchor that gave me the idea that, yes, I have to come back. There is a compromise here with my university, with my people, that I have to come back. But I wanted to come back in a better position that I left, right? And when you have to compete with new position, not always is straightforward. And when I was going back, there was some back and forth that made me think to stay there. And again, Enrico in that case was very generous because he gave me the time and the health mind to say, okay, you can stay here until is everything is solved and everything is fixed for you to come back or to move away in US to another place. For me, it was clear that I couldn't stay in the same university. It was very high competitive, and my CV at that time wasn't, competitive as it should was to have a position there. So probably I would have to move to another university, start all over again, maybe in the midway, in the Midwest, and on somewhere else. And the main reason for why I decided is, okay, if I have to move and suffer for a bit, because the next year in an assistant professor position is a lot of work, I prefer to be, working for something that is more than just your career. And the family was close, and family was, very happy for us to come back. And I said, okay, I come back, and I don't regret at nothing. It was really great decision to come back at that time.
So you come back, you're in Uruguay, you got to set up your own team. I think you even sent me a picture of your team.
Yeah.
So there's your team.
This is a very recent picture that we took for the new webpage, and this is the team now. We have grown. We started in 2020. So when I come back, I have my associate professor position at the Hospital de Clínicas in the pathophysiology department. But in my way back, Institut Pasteur offered me a shared position to shape a new, microscopy unit. Institut Pasteur had already a microscopy unit with 2 technicians and a couple of microscopes, basically providing services to the intramural, user and some user from outside. And they give me, a white piece of paper and say, okay, please propose something to us, what you want to do. And we shape what we call now the Advanced Bioimaging Unit. And this is the team now of the Advanced Bioimaging Unit. We started with 4 or 5. And as I always like to say, Advanced Bioimaging Unit stand in 4 pillars. So one is services. We are a core facility that we provide services to all intramural and extramural and the regional, users. We also have a strong advocacy for, training and dissemination, and you already have shown, one of our advanced workshop. We started in 2019, and this year will be the 6th edition of the advanced workshop. Then we have another pillar, which is the development. And basically on the development work, we embrace, technology. We build microscopes. We develop methods, and more close in the time, we even jump into the software because we start to need, software for analysis. And we have now a big, work advocated to the development of PhasorPy, which is a library for phasor analysis of fluorescent lifetime and spectral imaging microscopy. And finally, a pillar, which is biological research. We also wanted to do research in our center. So basically, that's the reason for why we have a team which is very diverse. There are, biologists, biochemists, anatomopathologists, physicists, engineers, computing scientists. So it's very diverse.
A team of 12 now.
Yes,
including yourself.
Yes. This is the PAC team, which is the UBA we call, right? The Advanced Bioimaging Unit. But there are probably another 5 to 10 more PhD and master students in collaboration with many others, because we collaborate with many groups in Uruguay and also in the region.
So I'm going to fire some quick fire questions at you, then we're going to come back to more serious stuff. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
PC or Mac?
PC.
Ooh, okay. McDonald's or Burger King?
What, sorry?
McDonald's or Burger King?
My kids love McDonald's, so I have to go with them.
Not so bad.
Yes. Yes, you can always find something good to eat.
Coffee or tea?
I was a very strong coffee person, espresso indeed, Italian, roots, and Enrico was a strong influence. But I have to say that now I am with my tea. In the afternoon, I start to have more tea, and in the morning, I have my espresso. And you see my machine there, so it's my coffee in every place where I sit. I have a coffee machine.
Oh, you don't want to know how many machines I have. I'm not sure. I'd have to count them up. Do you know what? Here's a top one. I recently bought a portable Nespresso machine or espresso.
Oh my God.
No coffee grinds, but you got to think about cleaning it up and everything else.
Yeah.
That runs off a battery.
Okay.
So literally, it is just portable, like a small flask. And
that's interesting.
Make yourself an espresso. Hotel rooms.
That's interesting.
If the coffee's rubbish, you can have your own.
That's interesting. I will take a look.
It is, yeah. I'll advocate for it all day. Chocolate or cheese? Next question. Chocolate or cheese?
Chocolate.
Milk or dark?
Dark. I like dark. Yes. We share at some point dark chocolate.
Yeah. Oh, my bag's just not here. I've just put it outside the room. Otherwise, I could have got the lint out. Yeah.
Yeah, dark. Yes, I like dark.
Beer or wine?
Wine. Yes, I am wine person. And red wine, indeed. I like.
Okay, red wine?
Red wine, yes. I like red wine, yes. I don't drink too much, honestly speaking. Probably, I don't know, glass of wine on weekends. But yes, if I have to go for some, alcohol, yes, I always pick wine.
Eat in or eat out?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. Best question.
I don't know.
Do you prefer to wash up or cook?
I prefer to cook all life. Yes.
So
I like cook. I like cooking. I don't cook much, but I like cooking. Yes, I like. Particularly, I like to do pizza. I'm good with pizza, and indeed I have pizzeria for many years. So I often do pizza, focaccia and things like that in home for family and friends.
No, let me just establish this isn't out of the freezer, put in an oven. You are now you're rolling out the dough.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Topic,
prepare your dog, yes, fresh, and do it, by your own. Yes.
So would you say that was your signature dish then? Would be the pizza?
Yes, absolutely.
What's your favorite topping?
Well, I like with vegetables or ham or something like that. But probably margarita is one of the one that I like the most. This is classic, it's simple, and you can enjoy it. Yeah.
No,
When I went to Genoa past, June, I have a wonderful margarita there. It's like, oh my God, that's amazing.
I think it was Jennifer Waters, and I'm fully with Jennifer on this. Pepperoni all day long.
You like? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
not that much with the pepperoni, but yes.
Yeah, not necessarily other salamis, but pepperoni in particular.
Okay.
Top notch. What is your least favorite food?
Favorite food, for sure, spicy food. I cannot handle with spicy food.
No.
Yes, no, basically, black pepper is the maximum resistance for me. So basically, the tolerance is black pepper. In Uruguay, our season of meat and things like that is salt and pepper. That's it. And there are many people that also like of spicy, but I am not a spicy person. I cannot handle with it.
Okay.
And in my time in US, I was always struggling, because they say, no, this is not too much spicy, and you're, oh my God, this is going to kill me.
Especially things when you have wings and stuff like that with just the normal barbecue sauce. They are actually quite spicy. I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
What is your favorite food? I know you like to cook pizza, but is that your favorite food, or do you have something else if someone else is cooking, or if you're going out, what would be your favorite food?
Well, I will say that, as a classical Uruguayan, probably meat, and the asado is a traditional, cut here in Uruguay. We have some ribs and the meat, and doing this on the barbecue is very traditional, and I stick to it. I really like the asado.
Okay, that's cool. Book or TV?
I like to read books, but truly speaking, in the last few years, when I come back home, I connect with the TV and I disconnect. Otherwise, I cannot. And I use it to just look at movies or series or even chunk TV in order to move away from show and just to have time to relax.
And what would you say the trashiest TV is then that you use to just switch off?
Well, when you go to YouTube and you find whatever you find, in YouTube or things like that. Otherwise, I like, to go to platforms, and watch series and things like that. For many times, I also use a lot to find, series and movies and things like that. We are in English, and this help me to keep, with the ears and listening, because one thing that we lost a lot when we come back here is we never spoke in English here. We speak in Spanish no matter what, unless you have visitors. It's something that I use in order to keep practicing and the listening. Otherwise, you lose.
No, that's what these podcasts are for.
Yes, exactly.
You talk about clicking and finding a film. What is your favorite film?
Favorite film? Well, can I say two?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, Forrest Gump is one of my favorites. Probably I have seen this movie 20 times, and I'm not exaggerating. And the other one is how is the name? I am now blind with the name. Notting Hill, which is another movie. Is very romantic. That is happening in the neighborhood of Notting Hill, and I'm not exaggerating. I have watched this movie for another 20 times too, and we have a show with my brother-in-law. Every time that each of us cross with the movie again, we text it and say another time who is now winning this this bet.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask about favorite Christmas movie then.
Home Alone, for sure.
Okay, see, because you like Notting Hill, I thought you might have gone for Love Actually.
No. Home Alone, yes, I enjoy a lot, and I'm introduced my kids with Home Alone.
Oh, yeah, I think we watch it once a year, even though the kids are now getting
Yes.
older. But still, you got to do it. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Well, I am not that much fan of any of both. To be honest, I never have attraction for this kind of cinema.
Okay.
So
And
probably I have so probably Star Trek. I think some of them.
yeah. Okay, then going back to the books, you said you like to read. What sort of genre of book do you read?
I like to read about people, and I like to read about the life of people. And for many years, I bought biographies and things like that, and I also like to read about story and the history of Uruguay, history, universal history, and things like that. I'm not much into literature and things like that. I like also some, novelistics, biographies and things like that. But mainly, about, people.
Okay. And final quickfire question: what's your favorite color?
Favorite color? I don't think I have one, but if I have to pick one, probably green.
So not Caprida or
No,
something?
Caprida, yes.
Come
Well,
on!
rainbow, yes. All colors. White, all colors.
I've warned the people not to choose their own color. Dear me. So back onto the more serious stuff. When would you say was the most stressful time of your career?
The most stressful time? Well, I will say that, probably the moving back home was very stressful. Not because I was not, happy with this happening, but all the movement from US to here was really complicated because I have bad luck with, the agency that I hired for moving me back, and I was moving part of my home. Enrico also helped me to come back with some instrumentations, and everything was very complicated. And I remember this time with a very stressful time. Probably that one, yes, if I had to pick one.
Mm-hmm. And I take it during that time, your music was useful to you as a hobby outside. Do you have any other hobbies that you used to chill out and take your mind off those stresses?
You know, I was never much into sports. I like to play soccer and other things. But in the last, I would say 3, 4 years, I start to get more serious on my health, and I start to run more, and I start to biking more and exercising more. And this is something that I now embrace a lot. And I bike every weekend. I have a group in my town in Santa Lucia that we go out with the mountain bike. We have a lot of off-road. We don't have many mountains here because it's very flat, Uruguay.
Yeah.
But we have off-roads, and it's very nice. I discovered a very strong social, activity. I never thought that the biking was that social, but you go biking with others and you help each other and you talk a little bit, and I enjoy a lot biking. I enjoy also a lot running, and I try to combine things like running and biking. Um, and then yes, probably enjoying time in home. I am very homey person. I don't go out much often,
Mhm.
and I enjoy with family and friends.
And what would you say is the most fun time of your career? If you could relive any one year, I think I know the answer from earlier already, but I'll check. If you could relive any one year, what year would you relive?
On my career, well, I have no doubts. These 4 years at LFD was the best in my life. And Enrico pictured this with a very nice metaphor. One time he come to Uruguay to support my comeback. He come alone and he gave a couple of talk, and he spoke about my work at the LFD. So he was showing my capabilities to my
Mhm.
the people who can take decision here in Uruguay. And he expressed in this metaphor my feeling there. Leonel is a child in a toy store. He want to touch all toys here. He want to play with all toys here, everything. And this was my time at LFD. I was really enjoying the collaboration and the work with every friend and colleague there. And these 4 years were amazing. I learned a lot. I enjoy, the work, but I also was at the time of my life where, we left Uruguay being 3, we come back being 4, and my childs were in the school, and my little one, Bautista was already 7, 8. Valentina was born in 2016, so she was a baby girl. We were having such a fun time, amazing, life there, because also the life in Arvan is fantastic. All year, summer, you can do everything you want.
How old was your eldest daughter when you moved back?
We come back, and Valentina was 2.5, something like that, and Bautista was 9.
They're still
Yeah.
quite young to feel the change of going
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. She miss a lot. No, she doesn't miss, but she have some thoughts about this, and we couldn't come back yet. We have plans to come back at some point. I come back several times, but not with the whole family, to Irvine, and it's something that I hope we can do at some time. Come back with the family and spend some time there, to have memories. We left a lot of friends, as you can imagine, in Irvine. Some of these friends are family for us now because we spent years there, right?
But it's science, so some of them may have already moved away as well.
This is also true. This is also true. Yes.
What do your children think of your job? Do they understand it? Do they admire
Yes.
it, or are they just like on the side? It's just a job.
Well, Bautista has the chance to enjoy this time of the LFD, coming with me to the lab several times. He was curious, but he was okay. That this is fine. This is your job. I'm not so sure that he will, pursue something like that. He has all other interests, in particular, sport. He's very good at sport. Valentina is more curious. Valentina asks me things about what you do. She now discovered, in the phone, some of the AI, and she asks questions to the AI about science, about myself, and she asked me, "This is true about you?" And say, "Yes, this is your dad doing something, or publishing something, or things like that." I see more in Valentina probably a chance for a scientist.
And the other one, a footballer.
For sure. A very good one, actually. It's a good one.
So that must be
nothing related to the father,
Yeah, I was about to say that must come from your wife, not from you, from what you said earlier. So that's your most fun times. If you could, you're obviously enjoying your job. It's obvious you love your job.
Yeah.
Would you call it a job? Actually, it's a job.
I cannot call this a job. I always estrange myself at the end of the month because they pay me for do that, Peter. I couldn't believe. I will do this for free.
We can edit that bit out afterwards. That bit there. If you could do any other job, just for a day or a week, that's not in a research lab, what would you like to try out?
Well, as I told you before, I like to do things with my hands. And I discovered, for instance, in the carpentry or in the machine shop, working with the machines, a big joy for me. I like to build things with my hands. Indeed, one of the first things that I did when I come back here was to buy a machine shop for the lab, and I have my lead machine and my milling machine, and the people was running crazy here in an institute of biology. I was, hiding in the dark, my machine shop, and I will do this. I like this job of machining things. Is creating things from scratch, for nothing. From a piece of metal. Probably I will dedicate time on that.
With your current job, as it stands today, what would you say is your favorite aspect to the job? And I'm also going to ask the converse: is what is the bit that you least like? Doesn't mean you don't like it. What is your least favorite part of your job, and what is your most favorite part?
The least part, for sure, is all what you have not been prepared for, which is dealing with all the bureaucracy that require reports and dealing with all institutional things that you have to be in commissions of this or that, etc., that take a lot of time of you, and you cannot dedicate what you really like, of what you have been training, right? Which is to be a scientist. And the thing that I like the most is to work with students, with my students. As anytime, I always like when they have a problem, and they come to your door and knock the door and say, I have a problem. Can you help me? And this is a perfect excuse to go to the microscope, to the microscopy room, to the lab, and prepare, solution, because it's like you've been training for that. So I like to work with my hands, and I enjoy a lot now, basically sharing this knowledge and thinking on new things, on new stuff, like new microscope or new methods or things like that. This is probably the thing that I enjoy the most.
Which comes quite nicely for the last two answers that you've given. How much hands-on microscopy time do you get?
How much time? Way less than I would like, but probably few hours a week. I will say few hours a week. Unless I am in a project that required, for me still to be a lot of time on, and I try to save as much as I can, in particular when we are building.
Do you think that will get less and less, or do you think you're going to be able to keep that up?
I am doing all my effort to have more and more time, and trying to transfer all these other responsibility to others, and move back to where I like to be, which is close to the lab, and do stuff in the lab.
And what was your first microscope? Can you remember what your first scientific
microscope
was?
Yes, the first microscope that I put my hands on was a Leica SP5. That was the first microscope, confocal microscope at the Institut Pasteur Montevideo when they founded the institute. It has this possibility of collect spectra, and I remember, myself trying to explain most of the people here that I wanted to do something that nobody else ever used it or touched it. I say, but what do you want to do that? I need to collect spectra because I am going to study the spectral shift of Laurdan. And they say, oh my God, this guy is weird. So
Surely you looked at Laurdan in a fluorimeter first.
Yes, correct. I started with the fluorimeter, but when we jump to the GUVs and when we jump to the cells, at the end of my PhD, I was already, in collaboration with Enrico, and Enrico told me, Leonel, you can do phasors in Uruguay. I say, no, Enrico, we don't have a lifetime machine, a Flynn machine in Uruguay. I say, no, but you don't need that. You need just the SP5 that you have, and you can collect spectra, and I will teach you how to do it. And this was the beginning for me.
That's cool. And what's your favorite conference?
Well, favorite conference, I've been, in the last time, engaging with other conference that were not my regular conference. But if I have to pick one, I have to say Biophysical Society. This is my conference from 2011. I've been participating every year. And it was a conference that also transformed my career because I met so many friends and colleagues now that help me to improve my capabilities. And if I have the chance, I want to mention also the Weber Symposium. Weber Symposium is also honoring Gregory Weber, and it's a conference that Enrico and Dave organized. And I've been very honored to join this committee in the last two.
Yeah, actually, you sent me a couple more pictures just before we finish. Who are these?
Okay. In here, in your right is Enrico Graton, and in the left is Dave Jason, and in the middle is me with several more kilos. And in the middle, I am there with a piece of glass because it was the celebration of the Young Fluorescent Investigator Award at the Biophysical Society 2023. when the society give me this award, which is one of the biggest honor that I own. Is a prize that is given to young researchers who contribute to the field of fluorescence, and this is certainly a big honor for me.
You do look very happy.
Yes, I do.
And I will guess we are.
And these two are my mentors. They were there, celebrating with me. It was amazing.
So we won't talk about the image. I'm just putting this up because it's just pure eye candy, and this should just be a poster somewhere because it is a lovely lung tissue image.
Yes, it's a lung tissue.
Without going into science, though, do you have because we are up to the hour? Do you have any regrets? If you could go back and change something in your career, what would you go back and change, or not do, or do differently?
Maybe not change anything, but come back and maybe whisper in my ears to say, okay, take it easy, Leonel. Things are going to happen, and just keep optimistic and pursuing your dreams, that it will happen. And sometimes when you are young and it's with a lot of uncertainties and anxiety, didn't help, during the PhD or even before. Just this, I believe, but I wouldn't change, because honestly speaking, everything that happened to me is somehow shaping me, right? And helping me to be the person who I am today.
I think that is a perfect note to finish on, because I think that's really sage advice actually for anyone. So everyone who's watching, listened, please do subscribe to the channels, go back, listen to the back catalogue, listen to all those Leonel's listened to on his commute for an hour getting to work. But Leonel, thank you so much. You've already had an award acknowledging just how influential your career's been, and that didn't acknowledge the influence to the community and the networks and the influence that you've had there along with your other colleagues with Leiby and everything else, and just helping the community. So it's not even your job, which is just as well, because you said you don't want to be paid anyway. So Leonel, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Peter. It's really a big honor for me to be joining this series with you.
It's been more than a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Microscopists, a bite-sized bio podcast sponsored by Zeiss Microscopy. To view all audio and video recordings from this series, please visit bitesizebio.com/the-microscopists.